watching on Facebook Live. And just so everybody knows, it's always on YouTube where you can see it if you're not able to see it live or in person. And, okay, that's what I was asking. Okay, also on Channel 19, and that's Comcast. So we have several ways, so. Okay, and we will open our Board of Commissioners regular meeting September 21st, 2023 at 7:01 p.m. Ms. Jones, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hall,
Present.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Present.
Mayor Anderson,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson.
As far as Commissioner Johnson, we tried all day today and yesterday to work with the football program at the middle school, but this is their last game. His son plays in that game, and also his son's being presented with his parents tonight as a graduating 8th grader to high school. So he will be here. He'll just probably be a little bit late. Next item of business, item number 3 is prayer and pledge. Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes, ma'am. Lord, we're meeting today to conduct matters of business, get our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought and speech, impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is mayor's comments. Just like I said before, welcome everyone. Thank you for our officers here that keep us safe in our meetings and make everyone feel comfortable. So I appreciate y'all being here and watching after us. And with that, we will move to item number 5, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 5 passes 3-0. Item number 6, any citizens' comments tonight?
None tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7, public announcements, awards, and recognitions, city events.
Thank you, Mayor. Richard wanted me to announce tonight that we're really excited about Saturday Nature Fest being at Bowie Park from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I believe he said there's 74 vendors. Several of those are food vendors. There's going to be bouncy houses, petting zoo, exhibitors. I think they've got a hayride, and I was looking through some of the live music. There's going to be some really good acts there. So I think there's going to be something for everybody, young and older. If you just come on out, it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we're just going to enjoy the park and fellowship and whatever we do at Nature Fest. Thank you.
Thanks. Item number 8, staff comments and monthly reports. A is Police Department.
Evening. So for the month of August, we are still fully staffed. Overtime is going to be down, and training hours are also going to be down. But in training, that consisted of basic in-service, the pistol optics instructor, and then TASER 10 instructor. And I wanted to kind of tell you guys about the TASER 10. That was something that we had approved earlier. And the TASER 10 is an excellent tool. It's going to make a big difference when it comes to the safety of officers and also the people that we're trying to take into custody. Previously, TASER 10, or the previous TASER 7, only had 2 chances to try to neutralize, whereas the TASER 10 has multiples. And also, it creates distance between our officers and the suspect, about 40 feet if we need it to be. We also had EBT card investigations. That just is working with the state to try to stop EBT card fraud in the city. Calls for service are up from July being 1,469, and July was 965. We had 56 more arrests for August. We had no domestics. Our DUI charges are up 7, and drug charges are up 10. So 24 last month, or in July, and 34 in August. And then theft is up. And for just some things to know about to try to prevent the theft from happening to you, block your cars. If you're in Bowie Nature Park, we have had, it's a South American theft group, and they have a tendency of trying to go to parks. So if you have a valuable, hide it or take it with you, and that will help prevent that. Another thing is don't answer emails or texts that you don't know. And if you do have any questions, please call the police department because we're more than happy to answer that. For citations, we're up to 200 or 211. In July, we were at 109. Traffic accidents are down 16 for August and 17 for July. Property damage is down 15 for August and 16 for July, and then we had 1 injury traffic accident. September 23rd, we're going to be doing a concessions tent at the Nature Fest. Also, we have a card reader now, so if you would like to pay with card, you can, and you can also pay with cash. Questions?
The people who are, what did you call them, the people who are doing thefts in parks?
So I've been seeing a lot of in CID. It's not just Bowie, so it's nothing to be fearful of, but it's all over Middle Tennessee. It's the South American Theft Group. And one of the things that they do is they will attempt to target what they can see in vehicles. And so to prevent them taking your cards and then immediately spending your money, it's best to just take your cards with you or take your cell phone with you or anything that they can put on Facebook Marketplace, because they will attempt to get into your car if they're there. Not that they would be, but just
So
anywhere you go in Middle Tennessee.
in other parks that you've heard of that have had this situation, do they usually come in a certain vehicle, or is it different, or?
So they are renting vehicles from a non-legitimate rental company, and they have Florida license plates. So if it's something that seems out of place and you do see a Florida license plate, and not that that is inherently a problem, but if it does seem out of place, you can always call police and we can make contact and try to figure out what's going on.
And just curious about the tasers. So the 7, did it throw the darts?
Yes, so all the tasers, they did shoot darts or probes, but the Taser 10 gives you 10 opportunities. So whereas the Taser 7, you would have had 2 opportunities. So 1 shot, failure, another shot may have been effective. The Taser 10 also has more distance. So previously, officers would attempt to keep distance from approximately 21 feet from maybe somebody that had a knife. And now we can keep them at 40 feet and effectively stop them without our officers getting injured or the suspect getting injured in some other way.
So what you're talking about when you have, like the probes go out once, but then you can
And then we can take them
initiate
into
the taser over and over 10 times, right?
We wouldn't.
Am I
but-
understanding?
Yeah, but you could if it wasn't effective. Yeah, we wouldn't do that. But yes, if it
I
wasn't
mean,
effective.
That's what I meant.
Yes, ma'am.
Tom, how many security officers do we have at the park?
We have two park rangers. Of course, they're unarmed.
That's what I meant, park rangers.
And I believe every shift of the police department goes through the park, if not just once, multiple
Consistently.
times. And I did want to give a plug to Detective Reed, if it would be appropriate.
Absolutely.
One service that I didn't know I would need to use, that having 4 children, and of course my youngest is 20. It's been a while since I've messed with a car seat, and I'm a grandpa now. And so my son-in-law, he said, I couldn't get this quite tight enough. Of course, I didn't think it's a car seat. How hard can it be? Well, I went down to Detective Reed. It can get a car seat snug, and so I just want to say that is a service that our police department does. If you want to make sure your car seat is installed properly, they're more than willing to help, and I was very grateful that day.
So do y'all do y'all go through some type of training so you can help people with that?
Yes. We go through, it's just car seat technician. I'm a car seat technician, and so if you need your car seats installed, you can come by and I will install them for you properly.
That's cool. So back to the question about park ranger. Do we have 1 or 2?
We have 2 part-time park rangers.
Okay. And are they there pretty much every day, or?
I believe now we have one there every day. I'm not sure what their exact hours are. They're both part-time, so they're both under 30 hours a week.
Oh, Keith. There you go. Okay, so from 7, Keith is saying, our park director is saying from 7 in the morning till around 4:30 in the afternoon, we have 2 different park rangers. Okay, plus our officers who come through the park, so, we've
Consistently.
got quite a bit of, I just wanted to point out that we have quite a bit of safety in the, people watching out for people in the park, keeping them safe, so. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a
Yes,
request. First off, thank you for your report, Detective Reed. As I discussed with you before the meeting started, I've had some complaints about speeders inside of subdivisions, and I mentioned the 3 or 4 there with you a minute ago. So they're going to try to put in an extra patrol through the subdivisions. So please be watchful. It's a deterrent when they see the police come through the subdivision. So thank you for that, Detective.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
also, that made me realize that I want to ask something. So, do we have a noise ordinance out here?
Yes. But I don't remember exactly what the times are off the top of my head. We do have an ordinance that we could get on hand, so I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I'm just getting a lot of, people calling me about Aiden Woods, Phase 3, that they're starting, jackhammers and dump trucks and different things as early as 6 a.m. So I didn't know, I just wanted to find that out so I could at least let them know what the hours were. And I did, talk to Ethan, and they contacted Brandon, who is over that project, because we were having dump trucks coming through the neighborhoods at, quite a good speed, and we've got a lot of people who walking their dogs and children, and they do have a construction entrance now, which is fully up and running, so there's no need for them to go through the neighborhoods. They need to use their construction entrance. So, just putting that out there. Thank you. Good. Item 8B is Fire Department report.
Evening. My name is Jake. I work for the fire department in charge of training and safety, filling in for the fire chief this evening. So I got a much shorter report this month than I did the previous month when I recapped a lot on commissioner camp. So hopefully I won't take up too much of your time. So for August of 2023, we had a total of 131 calls for service. As you can look at the bar graph there, it's a pretty significant jump from the previous year. Calls continue to be increasing. The frequency of calls continue to be increasing in our community. In August, we had 18 overlapping incidents. Again, that's when one crew is out for a call and another crew or another call is dispatched. That's down from the previous month, though. We had 4 incidents where a fire was extinguished. We had a passenger vehicle fire on I-40, a debris pile in the city, and then we assisted the county fire department with 2 dwelling fires or house fires in the county. With that county response, we had 5 automatic or mutual aid responses where we assist our surrounding jurisdictions. And the last couple stats that you may see is our average response time and our time operating on scene. That's more par on the times that we normally see. If you saw the previous month's report, our times were higher. That was because of the time operating here at the July 3rd event. So now our response times and our time operating on scene times are starting to reflect more accurately, just getting that outlier out of the reporting numbers. The last thing I want to talk about again is I talk about every month, myself and the fire chief both talk about it, but to bring it up again is your first call to report an emergency should be 911. The reason I bring it up again, the fire chief this past weekend had 2 voicemails on his desk phone requesting services. So I cannot stress it enough. If you have a need for emergency services, to call 911. This is just kind of the quick breakdown of what we did in August at call-wise. Again, emergency medical and rescue services lead the way. That's 68% of our total call volume for the month of August. It's what we do, and it's one of the things that we excel at. It just kind of rounds out our call volume for the month. Keith? The heat map, the normal hot spots are still hot. We kind of see a couple hot spots or spots that are starting to get more warm and the outliers of the district. The 840 Highway 100 corridor is starting to get a little warm in August. We'll see if that trend continues. And then on the other end of Highway 100, starting to head down Whippoorwill Hill, it's starting to get a little warm as well. We can start looking into that, see what's causing that. It could just be an outlier of the month. But the normal warm spots continue to be warm. Fire Prevention Division, they were pretty busy this past month. The fire marshal did 42 fire and life safety occupancy inspections where he's out in the commercial occupancies that's in our fire district, just checking for violations and things that he can help prevent fires. He said he only had very minor corrective actions, issues, notices, and those were remediated very quickly. There was 3 plan reviews in coordination with the planning and engineering department that the fire marshal does his bit on, a food truck inspection, 2 fire protection system tests. That's where he goes out and makes sure that a new occupancy, it's going for CO, or an occupancy, it's had a major remodel. He's making sure that those fire alarm, the monitoring systems, and if a sprinkler system is installed, that those systems test out or are ready to go. We had 5 public education events, which equated to about 35 interactions. And then again, like we talk about every month, if city residents need smoke alarms, give us a call to schedule time for a crew to come out and do that. The last slide to talk about is training, one of my favorite slides always. We did 573 hours in the month of August. A lot of it was in EMS and in driver's training. So we had an in-service where we advanced our scope of practice just a little bit in coordination with our EMS partners. So all the crews had an EMS scope of practice update. We also had all the crews rotate through and complete their annual driver operator training. It's where we go and we get reacquainted with the blind spots, the turning radiuses, the handling characteristics of our fire apparatus, and maneuver around some cones, if you will. Just some pictures of some of the training. So the big pieces of the pie, again, driver's training and EMS. The rest of the numbers kind of rounds out some normal numbers that you see. We had 1 member attend Fire Officer 3 certification at the Fire Academy, and we had 2 members come off their 1-year probation, and they are completed and ready to hit the streets without without restriction. So it's an exciting time in the fire department. Is there any questions of me that I can answer for the fire department?
I would like to say that I was going through Facebook and I saw, I don't know, I can't remember who posted it, but about finding somewhere outside for everybody to meet.
Yes.
If there's a fire, so,
So the fire marshal does a tip Tuesday, or it may not be every
Gotcha.
Tuesday, but the fire prevention division is trying to increase our social media presence and awareness messaging. So that specific message was about a meeting place, if you, I think is what you referenced. But yeah, having a place and a plan in place with those that you and your household have a meeting place in mind for if an emergency occurs that you go and you rally to and conduct a head count. But yeah, we're trying to increase our social media presence in fire prevention specifically.
that helps so much, because I know last month last meeting, when you pointed out the difference between, an older, not an older home, but maybe older furnishings, and then new, because basically it's not the fire that gets you, it's a matter of seconds that, the fumes come off of a carpet or the plastics or whatever and goes in your lungs and it just fries your lungs. So that's directly in correlation with what I was talking about, because they were talking about meeting like outdoor. They were showing a tree. Of course, at my house, it's our mailbox. And that way you're not searching for someone in the home, especially when you've only got seconds for your lungs to fill up with that gas.
Great points.
So I love that y'all are doing that and putting that out so that we can, somebody might not, think about that, but that helps awareness. So I appreciate that. Any, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Jake, thank you for your report. You mentioned the commissioners' camp. Is that going to be a yearly thing, or is it just, have y'all decided on that yet? Because
We haven't decided.
it was very informative.
Good.
Yeah.
The crews enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm sure the fire chief also, I don't want to speak for him, but he's mentioned that
Yeah.
he had a good time with it as well. I'm sure we can make it a somewhat recurring thing. I don't know at what frequency,
Right.
but I think we can certainly support some sort of recurring frequency.
And the other question that I have, I understand that we do have a house that y'all are going to actually burn. At least I've heard that in the grapevine, so to speak. Is that an ongoing thing?
News to me.
News to you? Oh, my goodness, okay. Anyway, if that happens, I'm not mentioning.
Call 911.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, no.
Yes, sir.
If
Yeah.
that were to happen, if it does, it would be a good chance to film it. I'm
Okay.
not mentioning an address or anything of that nature. But I actually, when I was city manager, I actually attended one of those on where one of the storage units are at now. The house that was there, I was actually part of that actually several years ago. And it is very informative. So if it does happen, that would be a good time to film it and bring it here and let the citizens know what y'all go through.
Yes, sir. I agree. In our business, it's called an acquired structure live fire training. Very beneficial training for not only for the fire department and the members themselves, but it's a good public awareness or public education piece. There's a lot of TDEC requirements that go into place to complete live fire training, such as that a lot of things have to be abated. There's a lot of steps and checks and balances that have to go into place for that. So, where the fire department's not necessarily against acquired structure live fire training, I will say that we have our nifty live fire training tower on our facility, which
Right.
makes it easier for us.
Yeah.
But we're not against acquired structures. So yeah,
If it happens.
Yes,
it'd be
if it
just a
happens,
good-
if it happens,
Good
yeah.
suggestion. But
Yes, sir.
Anyway, thanks for your report again.
anytime. Anything else?
Thank you. Item 8C, city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. Just want to report, I'm happy to report, relieved to report that we are up to date on our financials. I have left a copy of what, it's what I'd like to put online as our finance report. I was thinking about putting this along with bank statement balances. You can look over that. I've got a couple other different options, but everybody I've talked to and any class I've ever been to says it's best to put out a report that comes from your accounting system. I could, in the past, I have prettied them up with graphs and this, that, and the other, but this is kind of what I'm thinking about doing. I also put in a BOC expenditure report, so you all can know exactly where you are in your expenditures. Now, this is through August 31st. Also, going forward, we're going to be assessing our departmental goals and projects and trying to get traction in completing those and getting as far along as we can before budget prep comes up again. So, but it's really good. Everybody's working hard. A lot of the departments use this time for training. I know Richard and Rachel have been in TAMCAR. We've got TGFOA and TMCA coming up, and just a lot of trying to fine tune our skills and be the best servants to the community that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay. Item 9, consent agenda. A, minutes from September 7th, 2023, Board of Commissioners, regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye. Item 9A passes 3-0. Item 10, old business. A, Resolution 55-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor to grant a sewer line and utility easement to Northwest Cove LLC. And that's, I put that on there. Thank you. I spoke to Tony Cavender at length about this, and basically, I'm sorry, go ahead and state your name.
Oh,
and-
you're fine.
Yeah,
Good evening. I'm Allison Corolla with T-Square Engineering, here to answer any questions if you have any.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I spoke with Tony Cavender at length about this, and basically what is happening here is they already have, do you call it a ditch or a, that the utility goes through?
Yes, ma'am. There's an existing swale and existing
Well,
trench
yes.
through there.
And
Yes, ma'am.
it's already been approved, and basically what they're asking for is just another few feet into the property so that when the road is widened, the utility will not have to be moved twice.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do we have a motion or any questions? I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second. But I do have a question
All right,
when it's time.
go ahead.
Okay. Since we're moving a few feet, is that still in the utility easement? Oh,
Yes, sir. It will be in the utility easement if this gets approved this evening.
okay. So we don't actually have to go in and purchase any additional?
That is not my understanding. It's that it is exclusively an easement, not an acquisition.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Ms. Jones?
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10A passes 3-0. Item 10B, Resolution 56-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, creating a water and sewer task force. Commissioner Hall, I would like to say before you begin, Patrick Carter has reviewed our city attorney has reviewed the contract, and per the contract, there is a committee, but there are designated members of that committee. One is the mayor, one is the city manager, and one is an appointment from the planning commission.
Yes, I discovered it in reading the contract that that was what was required. Now, I have asked the city attorney tonight if that's been the case. I know you have the right to appoint someone to fill your position in the planning commission, and I'm just wondering if these particular people, I know it's going to be an additional burden on like the city manager and you and whoever the planning commission member is. to attend this extra meeting once a month. And the reason that I have suggested the three of us is, or three people, is that one could go and alternate the time that they would spend at the meeting and bring back any necessary information that the city of Fairview might need to be informed of. And as looking into everything, we represent about somewhere a little better than 20% of all of the Water Authority of Dixon's customers. And I think we need to have that input in the future developments and everything. And I had three citizens that were willing to volunteer their time to take on that chore. And I'm not sure whether Mr. Carter has any legal aspect to whether those people could be appointed as a delegate for the each individual person from the Planning Commission, the mayor, and the city manager.
I do. So for the citizens that are watching at home and the ones that are here with us today, the contract that we're referring to is a contract that was entered into on September 28, 2006 between the city of Fairview and the Dixon Water Authority. And this is where the city was unable to operate its own water and sewer system, and sold our existing facilities were in effect sold to Dixon Water Authority, who would then handle the operation of those systems from that point on. In that contract, there was a standing advisory committee created, and it's to be called the Fairview Subcommittee. And it says it shall consist of three persons: the then serving city manager of the city, the mayor, and a member of the city's planning commission selected by the city's board of commissioners. The duty of that board is to consult and act as a consumer advocacy body with respect to water and wastewater services in Fairview and in Williamson County. The committee shall be entitled to be heard at all meetings of the authority's board on such subjects as are relevant to the authority's customers and potential customers residing in Fairview and Williamson County. Your question, Commissioner Hall, is if the mayor and or the city manager and or the planning commission member that's appointed by the BOC could then designate others to fill their spots. As a matter of contract interpretation, words are usually given their common and customary meaning, and you try to interpret the document typically within the four corners of the document. And so in this case, since this document does not include the language or her designee or his designee, I don't think it follows. So I think what we have is a committee that's the mayor, the city manager, and a member of the planning commission appointed by the board of commissioners. I don't think there's an option for those people then to designate further, because it's not provided for in the plain text of the contract. The situation you mentioned on the planning commission, that's a matter of Tennessee statute, and that statute does contain language that says and or the mayor's designee in that case. So I think it's different from an interpretation point of view. Hopefully I answered the question.
You did, but I had to ask.
Probably a longer answer than you wanted, but
No.
I think it's the correct answer.
Well, and when I discovered it in the contract, I, could probably kept my mouth shut, but I'm not that type person. So anyway, I brought it forward, for legal interpretation, and I do thank you for your input into it. Thank you, sir.
So moving forward with 10B, since we can't approve that per the contract, how do we handle that properly?
I think you need to put an item on the next Board of Commissioners meeting for the Board of Commissioners to discuss and choose a planning commissioner.
That's on tonight.
Well, that's what we need to do then.
Okay,
That's
but I
what-
mean, as far as 10B, do we need to just,
Needs to be tabled. When you defer something, it's deferred to a certain date, anticipating it to come back. When you table something, you just you take it off the table, and, or you put it on the table, I guess, take it off the table, whatever. The effect is, it ends it, unless someone brings it back, and it would require a 2/3 vote. So someone needs to make a motion to table it second, and then we need to table it.
Thank you. So, go ahead.
Tabled. Item 10B.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye. Item 10B, 3-0 to table the item. Item 11, new business. Item 11A, Resolution 58-23, a resolution awarding the bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Tennessee Valley Paving Company Incorporated, for the resurfacing project for the parking lot at Veterans Memorial Park. City Manager.
Thank you. Tennessee Valley Paving Company was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for this project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All righty. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Hall,
Excuse me. Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye. Item 11A passes 3-0. Item 11B, Resolution 59-23, a resolution awarding the bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Kingdom Come Concrete, for the installation of a concrete pad at Fairview Fire Station 31. City Manager.
Thank you. Kingdom Come, gotta say that fast 5 times. Kingdom Come Concrete was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for this project. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions about this? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye. Item 11B passes 3-0. Item 11C, Resolution 60-23, a resolution authorizing the mayor and/or city manager to call upon the Williamson County Election Commission for the purpose of scheduling a special election to fill a vacancy.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. As the board knows, I researched this issue. In no case can the applicable statutes under Tennessee law be interpreted in such a way that would defer any special election until the regular election on March 5th. So my recommendation is if this resolution passes tonight and the mayor contacts the election commissioner, Williamson County Election Commissioner, tomorrow, the election would be scheduled between 75 to 80 days out from tomorrow's date, which would put us at December 5th to December 10th for the special election. And honestly, that's probably a good result because it comes after Thanksgiving but before Christmas.
Motion to approve and initiate.
Second.
Okay, and what I'd like to say about this is Patrick and I worked very hard to try to figure out a way for us to be able to hold this special election on March 5th, which is a primary. That would save the city tremendous amount of money on this. But every which way we tried to figure it out, it just did not work out. So I will be getting in contact with Chad Gray. I'm not sure about the 1st of December. I'm going to have to get with him, and we will work out a time that works both for the election commission and Fairview to be able to do a special election. But, you know, as hard as we worked, we're going to have to pay for this election, and it cannot be held on the primary just because of the dates that we have to follow.
I might also add that given the intent of the law, because I reviewed the legislative history and the time periods required, the intent is that the seat be filled promptly and efficiently, so the citizens are fully represented by their elected officials. And so, obviously, I understand the looking into trying to put it out to March 5th, but that doesn't serve the larger legislative history or what the intent of the law is, which is to fill it promptly. And so I do think that's a decent result, even though we're gonna have to pay for a special election. But that problem was not created by the members that are serving here. It was created by the member that stepped down when they stepped down.
And I was not trying to push it out for any other reason except just trying to save our city money, so, our taxpayers, and be good stewards of their money. But we will get started on working on an election, and we will let everyone know when that begins after I talk to Chad Gray, who is the election commissioner for Williamson County. Ms. Jones?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye. Item 11C passes 3-0. Item 11D, Resolution 61-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview appointing a Planning Commission member to the Fairview Water and Sewer Subcommittee Advisory Panel. And that's something I had put on the agenda for tonight, since this is the same contract from the September 28, 2006, that was reviewed by our city attorney. My suggestion, and the board can decide differently if they'd like, but I just think since it's mayor, city manager, which doesn't name someone, it's whoever's mayor at the time, city manager at the time, my suggestion would be whoever the chairman of the planning commission is at the time. And that's just my suggestion.
I think if I may, I think the best thing to do would be to appoint a particular person, because of the way this contract is written, and their term would be until they're no longer a planning commissioner. And so if you want to put that into a motion, the motion would be that in this case, that sorry, my mind went blank.
I make a motion that Chris McDonald
Thank
be
you.
appointed to the advisory committee.
Yes, thank you.
And he is the chairman of the planning commission.
Perfect. I was trying to think of chairman, and the word was just escaping my head, so thank you.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Ms. Jones?
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Item 11D passes 3-0. Welcome, Chris, to the advisory committee. Item 11E, discussion on the design for the Bowie Park Treehouse Playground sign, Parks and Landscape Board.
Board, city members?
Good evening. My name's Elmer Mobley. I'm at
If y'all don't mind just speaking to the microphone. Yeah, people at home can't hear very
Elmer
well.
Mobley with the Parks and Landscaping Board.
David Dodaro, 7551 Cherokee Hills, Fairview. Also co-chair of the Parks and Landscape Board.
Yeah, and I have notes down so I keep myself on track. So, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to present this proposed design for the Treehouse Playground entry. The entire board worked really hard on this proposal, and we hope, and the intent was to come up with a design that is built to last for future generations, with a nod to the history of the playground and the park, and a fitting welcome to people as they come to the park. As I said, all the members of the board worked really hard on this plan. I'd like to call out a few in particular because they did a lot of extra work. From the board, Kathy Tiroli, David Dodaro here beside me, and Dan Derwellis, who can't be here tonight, but Dan actually put together all the renderings and the detailed drawings of the plan that we submitted to you guys in the proposal. Also, thanks to Eileen Brogan for all of her extra effort that she provided to us on the project. And finally, Keith Paisley, who gave a ton of his personal time and effort into helping us along the way as well. So with that, I'm going to let David kind of talk through some of the details of the plan.
This is a continuation of the new Treehouse Playground. For the last 3 years, we've had tons of community input. The Playground Selection Committee that worked on the design of our existing Treehouse Playground put out a bunch of different public surveys on Facebook to get everybody's opinion. And basically what we see at Bowie Nature Park is reflective of what the public wanted. So to carry this forward, one of the main things everybody asked for is incorporate the signage from the old playground. So in this slide here shows you the front half. It's basically a cardboard constructed, if you can imagine the little zigzag in between. It's aluminum, but it has an exterior vinyl grade sticker basically applied to it that has a very long lifespan, and with it being in a shaded area, it will last even longer. Now, I don't remember exactly what year that was put in, but that sign is in amazing shape. There's a couple holes from where it was last mounted for the screws, but it's not bent, it's not scratched, it's bright and vibrant. So that's the front, and imagine the back side looks like the little clusters of tree leaves, and it has the little birdies, and you can see kind of in the photograph, you can go back to that one, Keith, where the little birds on the ground right there. So the back half of the sign is not going to be exposed framework. It will look like that minus the lettering, but have the little colorful birds flying on it. That would save the city about $10,000 by not redesigning a new sign of similar material and having one built, and then also incorporate something from the previous Treehouse Playground. Now, obviously, the Parks and Landscape Committee is an advisory board, so we're just bringing forth ideas. We've done a lot of research on this. Obviously, this is up to the BOC to accept or make changes, then of course the city when they have to put it out for bid, because this isn't cheap. And we were very, very conscientious of the amount. But this will give you an idea. Keith, if you can go to the slide with the sidewalk, please. The live photo. Uh-oh. Yeah, I think it was the first photo. That one. To give you an idea, this is standing inside the parking lot area, and in order to make the sidewalk ADA, which is American Disabilities Act, compliant, the concrete had to come out a little bit into the parking lot. Okay, so it looks a little off. Everybody on the Parks and Landscape Committee, and most of them are members of the Friends of Bowie Nature Park, did not want to cut down a single tree in Bowie Nature Park. With the curve and the angle needed to be ADA compliant, the sidewalk you see is 100% legit for people with special needs, wheelchairs, scooters, etc. So if we put the sign any closer to the fencing of the playground, you won't see it from the parking lot. And we want this to kind of be the grand entrance. So again, our research and committee discussions we've had will place the sign approximately where that tree to the right, it's got the little light shining on the trunk, about 3 squares of concrete in, about 12 to 13 feet back from the edge of the concrete, to give you an idea of where that sign will be with the little Treehouse Playground sign. Keith, next slide, please. Yes. We looked into a bunch of different ideas, and one, we thought about safety, we thought about durability, and of course the cost. So in keeping with some of the signage in Bowie Nature Park being natural stone, we thought an idea like this would be a great start. We wanted to incorporate the donor signage for all the people and organizations and businesses that donated for the rebuild of the Treehouse Playground in 2022 to incorporate that into the columns, which one would save us money not having to build an additional sign or wall structure, and kind of put everything together. So we were thinking natural stone with wood columns fastened to the top. So if at some time they had to be replaced, you don't have to tear the column down and rebuild the whole thing. And then that column would be strong enough in a concrete footer and whatnot's needed. Of course, we'll need the city's help with the engineering on that, to hold that sign. It's not heavy. It's about 12 and a half feet wide. So it's not huge. It's not going to look overbearing in that area, but it's not going to look small and cheap either. Keith, next slide, please. Here's a little bit better close-up to give you a proportion size. I believe the next one should have dimensions on it, Keith. There we go. Okay, so that's me standing there, and it took a long time for Daniel to draw it on the computer, so I got a little bit bored. But basically, yeah, well, I'm trying to stay cool. We thought the columns being roughly 84 inches tall would prevent children from trying to climb on them, jumping off and whatnot. So make them a little taller, which gave us room, and you can see the little inset where the storyline of the Bowie Nature Park Treehouse Playground is shared, and then the donors are also listed. There'd be a mirror image on the other side with the remaining silver and bronze, and I think, yeah, but family level? Friends level will be on the right side. The sign inset will be a stainless steel grade metal that is laser etched. It will last a long time, long as someone doesn't take a sharp object to it. So that would be incorporated into the columns. As an idea, again, we're presenting to the board. The dimensions show the sign, I believe the very top of the sign is about 14 feet tall at the very top of the little cartoony tree, and it's roughly 12 feet wide from column to column. Anybody have any questions so far? Because I can get crazy detailed in this if you want me to.
Okay, so
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed when you were showing the slide, Keith, if you could go back to the one that shows the sidewalk, the ADA sidewalk. Okay. I'm seeing from, at least what I'm thinking is a grade, a slope. So is this rock pillar, is it going to be, I mean, it'd be level here, but will it be longer to accommodate for that slope? Or how's that going to work?
Well, the final details are going to be engineered by the city when they put it out for the bid. But we're hoping that both columns will be the same height left to right. And yes, there is a slight grade, but the column is only about 26 inches wide. So, a little bit bigger than a brick mailbox, a square brick mailbox, so about that size, and then about this tall to keep the average child from trying to climb and jump off it, smack their head on the sidewalk.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay, so it's 7 feet tall.
Yep.
Okay, it's 7 feet tall. Your person, the man on there is 5'9".
Well, yeah, I was.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because it won't, just saying, because of the slope, I was just wondering, I know it's going to be level at the top, but the right.
I think I know what you're saying. It's not that much of an angle. It looks like it in the photo.
It does look like it in the
Yeah.
photo, and I don't.
It's not that much. It doesn't really have flat spots to it because I know the concrete company really worked hard to make sure that was ADA compliant. We didn't have to go tear it out and rebuild it again. And I know Keith was involved with all that too. I just happened to stop by that day. But yeah, so the columns, and then the bottom of the sign, you might be wondering, it's going to be high enough where you'd have to really, really jump to try to smack it. So it's not going to be any type of obstacle to get in up and down the sidewalk. And the grade isn't that steep at that spot. I guess we could have done a side view. We didn't think about that. Does that make sense, Mayor?
Let me do a calculation real quick. Okay, so it appears to me that from the bottom of the sign to the sidewalk is 9 feet, from the calculations.
Correct.
The only thing I would be cautious about is, because I have a son, not had a son, I have a son. You know, they like to run through and.
Well.
Okay, so I would just want to think about 9 feet being enough to where, you're right, they wouldn't like run through and try to smack it
Correct.
and, tall enough that.
Mr.
That
City Engineer,
wouldn't happen.
side note, make sign taller. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna have to prune a little bit of the branches, trees are gonna grow, we know that, but we didn't wanna go excavating and cutting down trees just to put a sign up. And this will be just in front of the canopy, it's hard to see in the photograph, just in front of the canopy of the existing trees above the sidewalk. We're trying to do as little invasive as possible.
And I
The
do.
columns can also be any height.
Yeah,
You know,
this is just an idea.
That's easy, part to make.
I do like the fact that we're incorporating something from the old playground, not just cost-wise, but because, that it's just good that we're incorporating something from the old playground to the new. Also, I love the fact that I would like to see the reverse side of it. Is it just green?
Yeah, Keith, if you could back up to the sign on the building, imagine the lettering not in place.
So it's exactly like
It
that?
looks exactly
And it has
like that.
birds on it?
It's got the little birds.
And then what is that to the right?
That's the backside.
That is the backside? Gotcha, okay. I do like the fact that it's bright and colorful, and it looks like it's worn well over the years.
Oh, it's in great, great shape, and we
Yeah,
pulled it out of the
so-
barn 3 times this year.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. My only comment is, I had somebody wiser than me come by the shop today, and I was actually looking at the drawings, and he made a comment that, it was a great comment, that instead of just a straight wood post here, there is a company, and I've got a picture on my phone, I apologize, I mean, this is just discussion tonight anyway, but I didn't have time to print it out, but basically what it is, it's the trunk of a tree. And so I thought, and it's a company that makes that, and it's for outside and durable and will last forever. So my suggestion is maybe, because I know this stone pillar, the cost is exorbitant. That's gonna be the most cost for this.
Yeah.
And the tree trunk is so cool. It like comes up with the knots on it and everything, and then it kind of spines out to hold the sign.
Okay.
And so you've got the spines coming out, it holds the sign, it comes down, and then I get what you're saying, you want it high enough where kids can't climb on it, but, I think that would bring the cost down, because I did hear a number, and,
Potentially.
yeah, and it seemed
That brings
really
up a question to
lot.
me, will it support a sign that's 18 by 26 inches wide, the stainless
Yes,
steel sign?
yes.
Because
I
it has
mean,
to be flat.
Yes,
So, I mean, but again, that's up to the city and the BOC.
Right.
What direction that you guys want to take this and go forward. We just did a lot of preliminary, I mean, we saved the city probably 120 hours of research. So you're not going to completely hurt everybody's feelings if there's an alteration to it, but can't please everybody either.
but the thing about it is, for it, instead of just a 4x4 wood post going up, the tree trunk just adds to the tree house playground, and just making the stone part of it a little shorter would be a big cost savings to all of it. So let's just imagine the top of the stone coming down, and then sitting on top of it, an actual, which is, we're not gonna go cut down a tree. This is a company that makes these. It's a tree, like the middle part of a tree with knots and everything. Then it's got the parts that come out that would support the sign. So that's just my 2 cents. I think it would be neat to add that to it. It's not really taking away anything except the 2 posts and maybe shortening the stone pillars to save a little cost there.
Well, and again, the sign we researched, stainless, laser etched, is 18 by 26 inches. It has to be flush mounted.
And I've
So that's all got to be
I
calculated
called
and
about
figured
that
in.
too, and the tree, the tree part of it can be carved in with a flat surface to accommodate those.
Well, again, we just, as a advisory committee, we spent 4 or 5 meetings coming up with an idea. So this isn't set in stone. The estimate that we reached out to see, hey, about how much? Are we asking for $1 million or, So, yeah, none of this is set in stone. We're just presenting the board an idea, and then you guys can take it from there,
Well,
because we don't
since you
have the
guys
authority.
worked on it, a long time, I mean, I'd like your input on my suggestion as well. I've got pictures in the company, so, and we have 2 other board members here. I don't want to, it just be planned from me, so.
I mean, not trying to rush it, but we know by the time the city accepts it, it gets reviewed engineering-wise, goes out for bid, we're talking 2-3 months, and then construction timeframe, 2-3 months. So we're already talking next to late winter, maybe early spring, and then maybe we can start talking about doing a grand opening, make a big hoopla about the whole thing. So, yeah, we're not rushing trying to say, hey, this is it, this is all we want, but to give an idea to the BOC and the city, something to run with, is what we got here. The next couple photos are the idea we came up with for the donor recognition and the history of the Bowie Nature Park Treehouse Playground. If you look down about 80% of the way, the number 1 donor, special thanks to our largest sponsor, the citizens of Fairview. And then, as approved by the previous BOCs a couple years ago when we started the fundraising process, we came up with 4 different levels of sponsorship, and I don't remember the actual monetary amount off my head, but this plaque has the gold level sponsors. Keith, next photo, please. And then to the right shows the silver, bronze, and friend level sponsors. I can't tell you how much time was spent on making sure the names were spelled correctly, name changes of businesses were included properly, and make sure we didn't miss somebody, because we didn't want to make 2 signs.
Don't jinx yourself.
Yeah. So we're pretty sure we got everything there. And again, this is just preliminary data information for the BOC. Anybody have any questions on any of that kind of thing there?
I think that looks great.
Keith, do you have the slide of the playground sentence? Okay. We were also tasked with coming up with some signage for the playground area. Some of the equipment is age or weight related, so we did a little bit of looking online. So I know it's a little hard to see, especially probably on television, but one is equipment is for children ages 5 and older, reserved parking, handicap. Well, I can't even read that one. Okay, the posts. And then something about swinging, the zip liners, some kind of caution for the, and again, this is preliminary. The city, I'm sure, is going to go and hopefully find them cheaper and make sure they're legal for the state of Tennessee. No smoking, pick up your trash, toddler swings for ages 5 and under only, that kind of thing. So we kind of looked into that also, realizing we need to have a few public signs in the playground. That's basically the last 4 months of our lives at the Parks and Landscape Committee. In 5 minutes, yeah. Does anybody have anything?
Mayor, I'll just say thank you guys for all the work on this. I've got to sit in a few Parks and Landscape meetings and watch the detail and that some of the citizens and members have put into in drawing this and trying to come up with the dimensions and meeting and looking at it. So thank you guys. This is a big task and ready to put it to bed. What are the next steps, maybe Mr. Daugherty or Mr. Carter? Do we need to vote to accept a design? Do we need to vote to put out for bid? What would be our next steps to get this finished?
Well, if you can settle on a basic design, you need to have it engineered. So you need to allocate the engineering funds. So approve a design and allocate the engineering funds. Does that comply with your thinking?
I think if we put it out for bid, would would a sign company technically engineer or design the sign? Does that make sense? Could that be part of the bid process?
I think so. You know, I don't, you may want to approach a sign company first, because they may have an engineer on staff that will engineer it and, you know, pick the materials. So obviously, they're talking about wood here. The stone, it appears to be cultured stone. I don't know if you were.
Much
So,
more durable.
You know, and then underneath it, it's likely cinder block. And so, the sidewalk, you know, has to be within a particular grade. Believe it's less than 8% is ADA compliant. So, but I think that would be the next step is to go through that process. So pick your design and
So we'd approve a design, or so.
and have it officially designed and engineered. So they can be, you know, plans can be put in place to actually build from. So
So we could either accept as proposed and start that process, or send it back for a month or 2 or 3 months to revisit the budget, those trees, see if they work, change the heights, and revisit everything. Those would be our 2 options.
I don't think we have much to do next month, do we? We're open.
You think, yeah, I'll put you on the spot. How you think you could dig into that pretty quickly so we can get this thing moving in the right direction?
Yeah, we can do work ahead of our next meeting and come to the meeting. Stuff and get voted as a board.
Would you be opposed to me bringing a picture with the actual tree, in, you know, instead of the wood post, have a tree?
Or Mayor, if you could, go ahead and send to David that picture and whatever the company is, and I bet David will hound them and find some answers.
Call them tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Research it and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, you're not going to hurt our feelings. We just, this is what
No, and
a dozen of us came up
look,
with.
the only thing that I'm even design-wise, you know, thinking differently is just that simple wood post, you know, maybe going to like this company's tree trunk, which is really cool looking. And since it's a treehouse playground, you know, I'm thinking that tree trunk would really kind of add to it. And so it's really no design change except for the tree trunk instead of the 4x4.
We've gotten a pretty detailed estimate from the work that we've done already, but we can definitely take that into account, see how that looks, you know, compared to the investments that we have for the project. The benefit to the overall budget, you know, that's another win for that project.
We were very conscientious. I think everybody took a gasp when we added up the number for what you saw there. So, yeah, if we can lessen the total and make it more natural, cool looking for the treehouse thing, I think we'd all be in agreement of that one.
All right. Well,
But ultimately, it's up to the
I'll just get
BOC.
with you two, with the company, and then, you know, y'all can come up with a new, you know, or an alternate design, just adding those tree trunks and the cost. Is there anything, anybody else from the board, would like to see maybe incorporated in that, or are we good with it?
I'm good with it myself.
So I think the item needs to be deferred then for 30 days.
Well, we're not voting, it's just for discussion.
Oh, it says discussion. Okay.
Yeah, I
Sorry
put
about
it,
that.
I put it on here just for discussion because I knew that we would want to kind of bounce back and forth ideas.
Oh, I missed the discussion. It's first word, so.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for, and the whole Parks and Landscape Board for working so hard on this.
So Mayor, if we could, Ms. Jones, put for the second meeting in November to discuss to take action or accept a design.
You said second meeting in November?
Or October.
Or,
October, sorry,
October.
I'm trying to skip a month.
I was like, oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move to item number 12, which is roundtable with mayor and commissioners. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to thank all the people involved with the Parks and Landscape Board with this design, as well as the friends that's helped out tremendously on it. And one thing I noticed in the picture, and I've said something that, I don't know whether it was the Parks and Landscape or whether it was the Friends, but the handicap striping needs to be redone, and I don't think it should be done until after the sign is installed completely. If you noticed in your rendering there, you can barely see the handicap sign there. So, but also there's a problem there that might need to be addressed too. I don't know whether we need to do that with engineering or whatever, but it seems like we have a lot of mud that washes down in that particular area there. So I don't know whether it could be diverted away from there, but it does seem to hold up quite a bit there. But anyway, thanks again for all y'all's work, and thanks for the city employees tonight. They did a good job with their report, and also want to thank the people that volunteered their time to possibly help out with the Water and Sewer Task Force. I do appreciate y'all's help there, and hopefully it will proceed to go forward, and we'll get our input back anyway. So at least we do have that addressed. And thanks each one of you on the board, and thanks all the city employees once again. Thanks.
Commissioner Johnson, I did let everyone know where you've been, and you needed, we need to put our family first. So is there anything you'd like to?
I apologize for my tardiness, but like the mayor evidently has already spoken, it was 8th grade night at the middle school, and my son was playing football. And as you can see by my size, you can imagine he's not a running back, but he's a lineman. But he had a carry tonight for 1 yard, his only carry of his middle school career. He did not fumble. He gained 1 yard. So I was very, very happy. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Nothing further, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Y'all know that I always have something to say, so. First of all, I'm so excited about Nature Fest this Saturday. Richard Ross and staff has worked really hard on making this just a great event. So I hope that everyone can come out. It's from 9 to 4, and just, and also buy some hamburgers and hot dogs from the police officers so that we can get that money up there for Shop with a Cop. That would be awesome. So hope to see everyone there. I'll be there all day. I'm on the Fairview Arts Council board, so they're doing some fun things, and I'm going to be sitting in that tent part of the time, monitoring and volunteering for that. So I look forward to seeing everybody this Saturday with that. Yesterday, I had the privilege with the GNRC, which is the Greater Nashville Regional Council. We discussed road improvements and traffic lights and just transportation and wastewater, everything that goes on in Nashville and Williamson County and Cheatham and just everywhere across, our Middle Tennessee area. So when I ran for mayor, I ran for the city of Fairview, and I guess I focused on that and I didn't think much about how we all the cities and communities throughout Tennessee, we all affect each other, especially with transportation. So it's been an honor for me to get to go to these meetings and learn and work with the people that run these meetings to try to help us get what our community wants. Street widening, the light at Cumberland, that had been started, and then I think it stalled out a little bit, but I just want you to know that there's a lot of people working for our community to get that back on track. Also, so we had our big yearly luncheon yesterday, and they had, the climate of our community right now, it's just like so much Republican against Democrat, and, instead of us being unified as a citizen of the United States, it just seems like there's some divide. Well, it was very interesting. Demetria Kalodimos, if you remember her, she was the moderator and had Governor Haslam and Governor Bredesen there, and they took question and answer. And as you know, Haslam's Republican and Bredesen's Democrat. So it was really interesting because they've started a new podcast that is so cool, and it's called You Might Be Right. And instead of a division, it's more of a let's just listen, and I think both sides can come together for the greater good. So if you have the opportunity to listen to that, it was just such a great event, and I like to be able to bring that back to our community so that, you have that information to be able to just, if you choose to listen to that, I think it's a great idea. Let's see. So our next meeting will be October 5th. Like I've said, we look forward to seeing everyone here, and if you can't be here, Channel 19 on Comcast, Fairview Facebook Live, or after the fact, if you want to review what was at any planning commission or board meeting, you can go to YouTube and just pull that up and, see anything you've missed. And like I always say, let's keep our city beautiful, and let's pick up trash and not throw it out. And I appreciate everyone for being here. I appreciate the staff and the board. Thank you so much. And I entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.